Today's video is really aimed to help those of you that play the Hippopotamus Defense and see a very aggressive setup from white. That could be the English attack, the 150, you name it. And we're going to be going over really how Hikaru Nakamura navigates these positions, in which case white just hurls pawns down the board against the hippo like crazy. Before going into the game, I do want to mention I'm giving out a 30% off discount code for all of my courses. That discount code is CHESS25. So if you're interested, go down to the description below. There's a bunch of links there depending on which course you're interested in. Plug in the discount code CHESS25 and you will receive 30% off no matter how many courses you decide to invest in. And if you've ever gotten a course before or decide to get one, you will get 40% off on my upcoming ENDGAMES course, which is over 20 hours in length. Let's get it rolling here. Playing as black, Hikaru Nakamura against the move of d4. We have 1, 2, and 3. He really likes this move of a6. And this is a good move. I've covered this on the channel before, a6. I typically play d6 on move 3, but we see the move a6 here. This does give black some flexibility to play b5 very quickly if needed. And with the move bishop to e3, we have d6, queen d2. This is a big moment right here. Big decision to make. Do we want to play knight f6, right, and kind of play this like a PIRC here? Do we want to play b5 and just start expanding right now? Do we want to play knight to d7? That's what we see here from Hikaru. There's a lot of flexibility here depending on how you want to play it. But for those of you that play the hippo against h4, you're often used to playing the move of pawn to h6. So this is what we see here. And h6 is completely playable. Now, what I would say is that if you see h5, you're ready to lock it up. You're ready to push. But if you see f4 here, you're no longer ready for this. Because g5 at that point, white has a pawn, a bishop, and a queen all looking at g5. So it's at this point here where I would play h5. I usually don't play that, but if I see a pawn on h4 and f4, I'm locking that up in a heartbeat because I know that g5 is just not an option anymore. There's a pawn on f4 looking at it. So here I play h5. White now is in an interesting spot because they do have a lot of space. At the same time, they have a battery ram that's just looking at a pawn. And if white decides to push with f5, we could do multiple things. Taking is by far the best move. And if white captures back, we could either develop, right? I probably wouldn't bring this knight out. I think that we could do a better job here of targeting f5. So we could play knight h6 or even bring this knight over, target f5, bring the other one over, and really go after white's overextended position here. And this is often what you're trying to do. If you're playing the hippo, if you're playing the PIRCs, if you're playing the modern defense, you are looking to, against these kind of setups, have white overextend, create weaknesses, and go after those weaknesses. And this is the kind of position here where, you know, we would love an endgame coming out of that spot. White has hurled their pawns down like crazy. That's an endgame where we have weaknesses that we can go after. Our opponent, not so much. With h6, though, in the game here, we don't see the move of f4. We instead see castling queenside. We now have b5. If you're playing the hippo and you see this kind of setup, you got to play aggressively. Okay, I don't recommend playing quietly here with e6 and b6 and bishop b7. You got to make something happen here. So b5 is played, taking space. That's a great idea. I'm not worried about a4. Right? In fact, I'll just play bishop b7. Take all you want. If you take with the knight, checkmate. If you take with the bishop, we can throw in a check. We can play the move of bishop takes e4 or queen a8. But even if you take on e4 first, you're still looking at queen a8, forming two battery rams with your king and with your queen and rook, that is, and with your queen and bishop as well. And this is a winning position for black. I mean, this is great stuff. So in general, you don't want to play b5 if there's a pawn on a4. But hey, if there's a pawn on a4 and they're castled queenside, by all means, push that pawn to b5 because you do have that rook a1 idea. And if they play a4 here, then yeah, you don't even need to take it. You could just keep developing for the moment. Now you're looking at this because you'd love to snatch off that central pawn. But nonetheless, in the game here, with the move b5, white plays the much better move of h5, and now the move of f4. And this is a hard setup to play against. If you play the hippo, this is probably something that you have seen before, and this is difficult. Right? This is a hard position to work through. I will say that we are in a good spot in terms of playability here. You know, the engine doesn't give white +1. It's about 0.7 right now. But, I mean, yeah, we got to take here, right? Take the pawn And here we have the move of bishop to b7. And this reminds me of a game I played against Derek Heath in my recent tournament. I will leave a link to that game down below if you're interested in that. But yeah, that game was crazy. I mean, to me, that game, it felt like I was just down the whole game. It felt like I was losing, but it turns out there were actually moments where I was better and I didn't know it. So I think you guys might find that game interesting. And the pawn structure is like literally identical. My opponent had the pawn on h5, that f4 break. I had a pawn on h6. So very similar position here, very similar game. Here white ends up playing the move knight f3. I do want to mention if white here plays the move of e5, the engine doesn't like us locking it up. And there are moments where locking it up in the hippo is good. Usually, a standard type of setup, if you see d5 from your opponent, lock it up. If you see e5, think about it. In this case here, playing the move of d5 isn't good at all because now white can play e6, kind of a Spielman gambit type idea. And I mean, if we move the knight, white takes on f7 and they're just blasting open our king side. If we take, this is terrible. White could play bishop to d3. They're looking at g6. Guys, this pawn is one of the worst pawns I've seen in a long time. That pawn deserves a moment of silence. And with e5, again, we don't want to allow this. So what could we do? We could play c5 there, right? And now if you play e6, right, this is a little bit different. It feels different because we can actually look towards an e5 push in the future. I mean, if you decide to take, we could take with the knight. We could even play b4. And this pawn here isn't stuck. It can always push if it needs to, right? So that's something to keep in mind there, okay? So again, with e5, right, you can play c5 there. That's okay. And by the way, if white decides to take on d6, take on d4. 1, 2, boom. Now you're attacking the knight. If they want to take on e7, all right, we'll get some more development out of that. We have our knights on e7 and d7, 2 fianchettoed bishops. This is not a normal looking position at all. And I mean, I don't think either side is safe right now. I really don't, because both of our bishops are extremely active. On the other end of things, where's our king gonna castle? It's a great question. One I don't have the answer to. It just depends on what goes down. I would say that looking at this, I'd be very concerned about castling queenside. I might eventually put my king on f8 there. It feels, I mean, that's about as safe as the king can get with a pawn in front of it at the very least. But yeah, I mean, if white runs away with knight ce2, knight c5 could be played, queen b6 could have been played there. And we're just looking to play really actively here. Our knights are going to be jumping around. The bishops are active. We're looking at mobilizing this queen at some point as well. And we have a good position. I actually really like this position for black, but I understand if you don't. If you don't, that's okay. I've been playing these positions for a while, so I've kind of grown to like them a little bit. But with e5, again, you can strike in the center. And keep that idea in mind. In general, if you play the PIRC, if you play the hippo, if white takes, you can take on d4. If white takes on c5, you're not going to take this pawn back. Take towards the center. There you go there. Boom. You're attacking the bishop. You can play a move like knight out to f6, and you actually have a really playable game here. Queen to c7, doubling up against that pawn. Maybe rook to d8. You're good. All that said, here in the game, white did not forge ahead with e5. We instead see knight to f3. b4 is played. And again, look, knight e2, yeah, we're taking that center pawn. If you take on b4, let's play aggressively. White here should not take the pawn. If you play queen a4, that's not a bad move. King f8 is something the engine looks at there, just getting out of the pin and just tucking this king away on the safest spot that it can be on. And if white does take, you just helped us improve our bishop. Knight takes c5 can be played, and I mean, we're looking at rook b8, we're looking at rook c8, we're looking at queen c7, we're looking at mobilizing this knight very quickly. We have a lot of pressure on that queen side right now, and yeah, this is actually a lot of fun for us. So I really like that game. White, instead of knight e2, which just drops the center pawn, plays the move of knight to d5, which is a much better move. We have e6. Knight takes b4 is played, and okay, here you could either take on e4 or a5. Hikaru ends up playing a5 first and then taking on e4. Either one's completely fine. We have knight f2 in the game, and, you know, the engine likes the move of bishop c6 because In the game bishop d5 is played, that lets white push with tempo against our bishop. So the engine does like a bishop c6 with the idea of going 1 and 2. Kind of a nice idea, forming a battery ram against that knight with rook b8 ideas as well. But we instead see bishop d5 and then bishop b7. This is not good for us. I know that the pawn's in front of the white king, but we don't want to give white that space and that tempo. We have bishop d3, knight f6, d5, looking to break things open. And here is where white made a big mistake. White threw in a check, and I understand the logic behind it. I do. Okay, but you got to think about this at the same time. King f8 was played, and our king's actually kind of feeling okay right now. It's not like this king is super exposed at the moment. Now, yes, if white had all the time in the world, they could hurl this pawn down and stuff, but black is starting to get counterplay. I mean, that bishop is going to unleash. This bishop is going to unleash. This knight c5, this knight b6 move, those are options as well. White needs to think about weaknesses here. What square did this pawn weaken by taking? f5. And white here should start dancing. Knight d4. Looking at that very nice f5 spot. Looking at g7, h6, e7, d6, you name it. The best thing we could do is play knight e4. Even then, white could play rook he1. Apparently here, the best move is castling kingside, which is crazy. And even after that, white could play knight to f5. Apparently here, we got to play queen f6. It makes sense bringing that queen into the defense. But with knight takes g7, the only move here, I mean, this shows just how hard this kind of position is to defend. The only move here that doesn't give white, 1.6, 1.7 eval is king h7. Crazy move. Like, would I even think about that? Probably not much. But the whole idea is that if we take this knight right now with the king, knight g4 with tempo against our queen, and if we take with the queen, then bishop takes h6 is nasty. So king h7 is the idea. If knight g4, we now take with the queen, and with your knight on g4, I mean, if you take with the bishop, thanks for the knight. If you take with the knight, apparently here, black's better with either f5 or knight c5. I didn't make these moves up, so don't ask me. But knight d4, d takes c4 in that case could be played, but the problem is white just keeps forging ahead. Knight f5. I mean, we're in major trouble now with the check if that ever happens. This knight has such good coverage, and we can't kick the knight out. I don't even see what's going to trade for the knight right now. The bishop can't do it, obviously. This bishop can't get there. A pawn can't kick the knight out, so this is a great outpost, and neither of our knights can get there. This knight is 2 squares diagonal, so it's 4 moves away from getting to that square. And the knight on f6 is 3 moves away, since the knight is right above it. So, I mean, this is tough. If we take on d3, knight takes g7 with check, and bishop takes h6. So all that said, here, white needs to play aggressively and look at weaknesses. Instead, we see a check, and then the move of knight d4. I understand the logic. The problem now is that black gets counterplay. D takes c4. Hikaru doesn't waste any time in taking on c4, attacking the bishop. White responds, and here we have the move of knight to b6. Now, technically here, I'm going to show you a crazy line here, and really the reason I'm showing you this is to show you that sometimes when the engine tells you you missed a move, you need to look at it and you need to find that move next time, right? You need to try to find that type of idea. Sometimes the engine shows you a move and you're just never going to see it ever in your life, in my opinion, for myself. Sometimes there's a move and I'm like, why didn't I see that? And sometimes I'm like, okay, stockfish, shut up, right? I mean, that's kind of how I think about it sometimes. However, here, knight e5, right? Knight e5 is the engine move. I'm just going to show you this line. It's crazy. Apparently, we have a dead even game with knight e4. Okay? And with queen f4, apparently we just play queen f6. We just do that. It's fine. And if rook f5, apparently, hey, take on f7. It's fine. It's all good. Take on f7, king e8, you throw in a check. We're not worried. We just play c6. With knight takes e4, we take on b2, and we throw in a check. And yeah, I mean, we got all this stuff around our king, but it's fine. No worries here. If check, we can just take it. If capturing, you just throw in a check and then just, take on a2, and black's fine. Anyways, I thought that line was kind of crazy. But okay, knight b6 was playing the game. Inaccuracy, but who cares? I mean, it's a very solid move. Bishop b3, now a4, kicking that bishop. All right, bishop c2, knight fd5. Not wasting any time. And notice now the knight's kind of stuck. Knight f5 was playing the game. That's a big mistake now because of the fact that black was able to mobilize the knights. I mean, here, let's say white plays bishop d3. Well, okay, we just take the knight right off the board. So we are eyeing that guy up. If you play b3, we have queen f6. Now, you might be wondering, why am I even mentioning these moves like bishop d3 and b3? Well, we're looking at knight c4. If this knight moves, knight c4 is deadly, attacking the queen, attacking the pawn. Bishop d3, it does cover c4, but then we take the knight. b3, it does cover it, but queen f6, and this diagonal is extremely weak. For example, you defend it, okay, we remove the defender. Queen takes c3, we could take on d4, or just attack the queen first, and then look to take. But in the game here, knight f5 is played. Yes, you're going after weaknesses, but you have given black too much time here. Hikaru could have captured with check with the idea of knight c4, but he finds the better move of just knight c4 attacking the queen. White ends up playing queen e2, and white seemingly resigns against bishop takes b2 with check. I mean, if you go to b1, I think he would have found knight c3. And if you go to d1, I think he would have found knight c3. So, crazy game there. Again, those positions are hard to navigate. If you're playing that from the white side, you got to go after f5 immediately. You cannot give someone like Hikaru time to get their knights activated so that that bishop actually has something to do along that long dark square diagonal. And yeah, for those of you that play the hippo, I mean, this is something that you can go into. You can go into this type of game where you're tucking the knight, you play h6, you play b5, you're ready to go into a position like this, and it is playable. I've done it. What I would say is that it's very difficult. As we saw, some of those lines are like human, unless you're cheating, they're just impossible to find on a human level. So, you know, one option you do have, if you do see a very aggressive setup from the white side like this, you can just, okay, play b5. And, you know, if you see castling queenside, okay, bishop b7, looking towards b4. If white plays f3, knight f6, and you're starting to play it like a PIRC against the 150/English attack. That's one option you have available, looking to tuck this knight. And just play aggressively here, right? Play aggressively, develop fast, and go from there. So that's one option you have. Let me know, those of you that play the hippo, those of you that play the modern defense without the hippo, what do you play against this very aggressive setup from white? Do you play a regular hippo? Against h4, do you just play h5 and knight f6, or do you go into that whole h6, g5, g takes f4 idea? Let me know down below what you thought of this video, and remember, 30% off on all of my privately published courses. The discount code for that is chess25. Plug that in, you'll get 30% off on any/all courses available, and you'll get 40% off on the next course, the Endgames course, that's about to release. See y'all in the next video. I wanted to finish this video out by giving a big thanks to Walter, Steve, Rob, that's a lot of Robs, Ray, Roger, and the rest of my Patreon community. I appreciate you guys a ton. If you guys haven't checked out the Patreon before, there are some exclusive benefits that you gain by becoming a member, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next video. Peace.